from a book I wrote, was published in 2014, and it's called Wrigley Field, and it's a large picture book, but with a lot of text. It's an oral and narrative history of the home of the Chicago Cubs. And I was asked to read a section. I hope it's brief enough for you. And I shall begin. On a summer's late morning in 1971, and in my capacity as a sports writer, I stood behind the Cubs batting cage at Wrigley Field before a game. As the batters went through their routines, a ball that a hitter let pass from the batting practice pitcher rolled under the netting of the cage and to my feet. I picked it up. I cradled the ball in my hand and recalled another summer's late morning in 1951 when I was 11 years old. The day before, my friends and I had maneuvered in the autograph jungle under the cool stands as our Cubs paragons of those days, Andy Pafko, Hank Sauer, Phil Cavaretta, Roy Smalley, Dutch Leonard, Twig Terwilliger, Randy Handsome Ransom Jackson, and the ambidextrous Native American pitcher with the improbable name that we all memorized and loved to roll off our tongues, Calvin Coolidge Julius Caesar Tuskahoma McClish, nicknamed unaccountably Buster. And they emerged like gods from the clubhouse, big and self-assured and leathery tan, hair slicked and redolent of wild root cream oil. It was a team that would wind up in 8th place that year once again, but they were big leaguers and our heroes, last in the National League, but first in our hearts. Roy Johnson, whom everyone called Hard Rock, appeared. He was a tough-looking, craggy-faced coach, but pigeon-toed, which gave away the humor under his gruff veneer. He was in a hurry, he said, and had no time to sign autographs. I continued in hot pursuit. Maybe he changed his mind. No, he persisted. In desperation, he said, "Come to the park tomorrow, kid, and I'll give you a ball," slamming his car door a millimeter from my nose. I believed him. My friends were much too sophisticated. "He was just giving you the slip, dope," one of them said. Hardly able to wait for the first crack of dawn through the window shade in my West Side apartment, I did not fall asleep early that night. Armed with my lunch, the usual soft fruit my mother packed, carving a soggy hole in the bottom of a brown paper bag, I was off to Wrigley Field the next morning with my friends. They poked little jokes, even up to the time I left them in the grandstand tour. Stealthy assault in the box seats would come later. I ran down through the shadowy stands as the park began to fill, past vendors hawking peanuts, past the steamy hot dogs broiling succulently on portable grills. I descended to the short red brick barrier along the first base line. Straight out, maybe 10 yards away, was number 42, Hard Rock Johnson, whacking fungos into the bright blue sky. I watched a baseball drop through the clouds, momentarily obscuring part of the Baby Ruth billboard atop the building across the street, get lost momentarily in the white shirts in the sun-splashed bleachers, and finally disappear silently into the dark, outstretched glove of a fielder in front of the flora on the outfield wall. "Mr. Hard Rock, sir," I called through cupped hands. No answer. I called again. "You promised me a ball yesterday, Mr. Hard Rock." "Sir." Whack went another soaring fungo. "Just a dirty old ball, Mr. Hard Rock," I pleaded. The few adults seated nearby tittered. I'm not certain how long I kept this up, several minutes probably. Soon there was the predictable yank at the collar. I was explaining the situation to the grim usher when there arose the great throaty rumble. "Hey, kid." I turned, and Hard Rock Johnson tossed me a ball in a long underhanded motion. Up the stairs I flew. Wait a minute. My several pals all wanted to see the ball, slightly smudged, but who cared? And I showed my possession to them one by one with me holding the ball tightly. That finished, the ball created an uncomfortable but wholly welcome and secure bulge in the right front pocket of my jeans. Home, I fondled the hard ball with the bumpy seams. I inspected the dirt and grass stains closely, the Spalding trademark in a small drawn baseball, the stars etched alongside official ball National League, and the signature of Ford C. Frick, the league president. I smelled the intoxicating horsehide aroma of the ball, a scent that had not changed 20 years later, that has not changed in 100 years. My friends offered numerous suggestions on how to get the ball clean, as new. The one that sold me was to put it in milk. I immersed the ball in a large bowl of milk for 2 days, periodically coming by and rolling it around with my finger to make sure no patch was left unmilked. When I finally removed the ball, it had turned a sickly yellow. I mounted the ball on a shelf in my bedroom for a while, but eventually I took it out to play with it nearby narrow Independence Park. Soon one end came unstitched and grew a flappy tongue. And in time, the whole cover came off and the ball was reduced to a sphere of string. I taped it up and we played with it a little while longer until it seemed to just disintegrate into nothingness. At the batting cage now as a sports writer in 1971 at age 31, I felt the red ridges along the smooth off-white horsehide. It was a ball that had been pretty well pummeled, a ball that I knew would have soon been discarded, but not by me. I slowly tossed the ball into the air a couple of times, smelled it again, then I casually squeezed the ball into the pocket of my slacks and went up to the press box. And if you have, we have 2 more minutes?
We have 2 more minutes for you, Ira.
We do.
Okay.
You just told us he had lunch with J.T. Farrell. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
I took him to a baseball game. There is an addendum to this particular Wrigley Field story. In early April 1986, I read a short obituary in Sporting News that Roy Hard Rock Johnson, age 90, and living in a nursing home in Scottsdale, Arizona, had died. I admit it, this hard-boiled sports writer grew emotional as he read the news, and my thoughts inevitably returned to that summer morning when I was 11 years old and begged Hard Rock Johnson to make good on his promise to give me a baseball, and he did. The obituary related that after his coaching career with the Cubs, Johnson had become a scout for the team in the Southwest, for the Cubs in the Southwest. I called around and got the phone number of his wife, Fanetta. She was 86, and her voice sounded clear over the long distance wire from Scottsdale to Manhattan. Some people called him Hard Rock because he used to work the pitchers so hard as a coach, she said. But most people called him Grumpy, including me and our daughter and even our grandchildren. But living with Roy was wonderful. We were always laughing. He had that grumpy look, and sometimes his temper was short, but usually it didn't mean anything. The couple was from Haleyville, Oklahoma. To avoid becoming a coal miner like his father, Roy Johnson first became a prize fighter. It wasn't long before he understood that this was as tough a way to earn a living as digging coal, and turned to baseball and pitching. He was a big leaguer for one season with Connie Mack's last place Philadelphia A's of 1918. The Baseball Encyclopedia attests that Johnson won 1 game and lost 5. Fanetta Johnson recalled how Roy would tell her about pitching to Babe Ruth, who was then still primarily a pitcher, but making a reputation as a slugger with the Boston Red Sox. Roy said that Mr. Mack told him, "This guy can hit," recalled Mrs. Johnson. He said, "Don't give him anything, make him bite, or walk him if you have to." Roy threw, and the Babe hit the ball 400 feet into the last row of the bleachers. Roy said, "It might have cleared the Bunker Hill Monument, but at least I didn't walk him." After 1918, Johnson spent many years in the minor leagues in a classic itinerant baseball life, playing, coaching, and then managing in towns like Bisbee, Arizona, Bayard, New Mexico, and Ottumwa, Iowa. In 1935, he was promoted to be a coach with the Cubs. Roy loved to work, said Mrs. Johnson. He was going out with his cane and sitting on a beach chair to scout high school and college games until just a year or so ago. And when he died, he still had all his teeth. Still had his teeth, I replied. That's nice. That's very nice. And I meant it.